So here we have two different crypto projects. One of them, after its IDO, is doing almost 200x's, while the other one is performing really poorly. And the reason behind why one of them succeeds so much and one of them fails is because of tokenomics. My name is Arseny, and in this video we will break down tokenomics, how to read them, how to consider them, how to evaluate them, and how to make better investment decisions. Let's get started. So tokenomics is just a structure of token distribution. And if you're considering buying a crypto asset, then understanding its tokenomics is one of the most useful first steps you can take to make a better decision. And that's because projects with poor tokenomics are just doomed to failure as people sell the tokens at the first sign of trouble, making the price of the token just plunge. However, projects with well-designed tokenomics are much more likely to succeed because they've done a really good job in incentivizing people to hold and buy their tokens. All tokenomics are composed by two things. The first part is about why the token will increase in value over a long period of time, and another part is about token distribution. So let's talk about the first part, and again it describes why the token will appreciate in price over time. So a quick lesson in economics, any price is determined by two things: supply and demand. Two scenarios when the price of the token will go up. The first one is when supply shifts to the left, or in other words, supply decreases, there is greater scarcity, price goes up. And the second scenario is when demand goes up, more people want to buy it, there is again scarcity, and the price goes up. In other words, we want supply to be low and demand to be high. Now, there are two tools that crypto projects can use to bring down its supply. The first one is just limiting the supply, and the second one is using something called burn-in mechanisms. So let's talk about restricting the supply first. When it comes to Bitcoin, one of the reasons why it is so demanded and why the price for Bitcoin is so high is because its demand is really limited. At the moment, there are 19 million Bitcoins that are already mined, and out of 21 million of Bitcoins. So only 2 more million Bitcoins are left to mine over the period of the next 140 years. Which essentially limits the number of Bitcoins that are out there. More people come to crypto space, and since Bitcoin is like the biggest one that there is out there, it's the first thing that most of the people buy. And again, because it's limited, more people buy it, it's limited, price goes up. Also, it's important that the mining rate at which miners can actually get new Bitcoins, it halves every 4 years. Meaning that if in this year we can get 100 Bitcoins, in 4 years we will be able to get only 50 Bitcoins per year. Now let's come back to the first two examples that I mentioned in the beginning. So the first one is Stepan, really successful project. So if you open its light paper and if you scroll down to the part where it describes its token distribution, here you can see that this is the point where 100% of all of the tokens are released. And this will happen only in 2030, which is like almost 8 years from now. And right now we're at the point where only like 14% are released. And if you look at this release schedule, tokens are released really gradually, which means that the provision of tokens, the supply, is going to be really limited, not as much as with Bitcoin, but still they've done a really good job in this, which means that there won't be a case where they release like 30% of all of the tokens. The supply just increases massively, and this just brings the prices severely down. And now if we look at the price of this Stepan token, we can see that it was gradually going up because again, they did not allow a lot of the tokens to get released right after IDO. In fact, right after IDO, which happened somewhere in April, they've released only like 11-12%, and then in 1 year there will be 23% of tokens, so it will just double in a period of 1 year. Now when it comes to bad tokenomics, as we have seen with the project that I've mentioned at the beginning, for which the prices just plummeted, you can see here that at the moment of IDO, so at TGE, token generation event, they released 10% of tokens that are for seed, but the rest of the tokens for seed will be distributed over the next 12 months For private, it's the vesting period is also 12 months. For public, it's just 2 months. And for team and advisor, it's 18 months. And for marketing and listing, it's 12 months. So we can see that over 12 months or 18 months at maximum, most of the tokens, like 80%, will be released. And unlike STEPN, which releases its tokens over 8 years, in this case, it's clear that the provision is going to be really high, so the price will probably go down. And if we have a look at the actual prices for this project, you can see here that essentially right after 2 months of IDO, the prices just dropped significantly, because again, they have provided such a large supply of them and people just sold them out. The second tool that good projects usually mention and usually foresee in their tokenomics is burn-in mechanisms. You can have a limited number of tokens, but also you can set it up in the way that essentially the supply is going to be going down every single month or a year. So let's go to STEPN light paper again, and here we can see how they describe the burn-in mechanisms. So essentially, when you want to mint new sneakers, essentially when you want to create new sneakers, you need to spend or burn some GMT. If you want to level up your sneakers, you also need to burn both GMT and GST. If you want to upgrade, also you burn GMT. If you want to increase your GST cap, you also burn your GST. So they profoundly describe why the supply of the token will eventually go down and the price will go up. And in the case of this project, of the bad one, I went over the whole documentation and didn't find anything about burn-in mechanism. Now, the next part about our econ machine is demand. And with demand, there are two things. The first one is staking, and the second one is self-fulfilling prophecy or just faith in the project. Another really successful project that leverages staking tools really well is Outrun. This game was released a few months ago and they have done like 20 or 25x's. So here you can see that you can buy their tokens and you can stake them. And it's the same thing as depositing money to the bank. You just put money in, you log them for a fixed period of time, like for a month, for half a year, for 1 year. The longer you stake them, usually the greater is the annual percentage return. So yeah, you just earn interest on the tokens that you're staking. So I'm staking their token to get S fund and SCK token. SCK token is a game token that they use for this game, and S fund is the token of Citify, which is a really great, one of the biggest launch pads, a platform for launching IDOs. And so if you go to appreciation calculator, you can see that if you stake JQ tokens worth of $1,000, you'll be getting monthly 10 S fund tokens and 500 SCK. The price of S fund token is almost $2 and the price of SCK is 11 cents. And now let's do some basic math. So in S funds, you'll be getting like $20, and for SCK, you'll be getting like $50 a month. So this is like $70 a month from staking $1,000, which actually is quite, I mean, like none of the banks can give you this kind of annual return on your investment. It's like 7% a month. I mean, most of the banks in the US give you like 5% a year, and this is 7% a month. And these are like only returns on the number of tokens that you have. You should also, it doesn't include the possibility that the tokens will appreciate in price, which they usually do. So staking, it's good for the projects because they can limit supply by doing this, but that's also how they can increase the demand. So they provide this tool for investors to make more money by buying the token and just staking it. And the second tool that any project can use for driving up the demand is using faith in the project. So essentially, one of the reasons why the price of Bitcoin goes up is because people expect the price to go up because they anticipate more people to come into crypto market and buy more Bitcoins. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because like those people who actually come buy Bitcoin, they expect it to go up because of other people who will come later and buy this Bitcoin. They buy it because they expect that people later will buy more of it and the price will go up. And this is just like a loop. In other words, the project should provide really great reasons why their product will succeed, why the token will be important, and why it's going to be successful. And this part is much more tricky to evaluate. It includes a lot of different factors like the community that the project has, how many followers it has on social media, how many money it already raised and invested in the product development, and just how good the product is overall. So many things. I will probably make another big video in the future about doing evaluation of the project that's gonna include all of these different factors. But in short, another really important part is faith, just how likely new people are to invest in this project, how investment appealing does it appear for them to be. And this was all the first part of tokenomics, which is about the reasons for the price to go up or go down, supply and demand. And the second part now is about token distribution. So again, if we go to StepN, we can see that they also mention like what is the percentage that the team gets out of all tokens, what's the percentage that investors that participated in private sale got, and usually it includes 5 or 6 different sections. And I have created a really helpful tokenomics, like a cheat sheet. You can download it. It's absolutely free, and the link for it is going to be in the description. So I have divided these factors into the ones that have to do with raising money and attracting really good investors, and another one which is more about ecosystem. So when it comes to fundraising, most of the projects, they do angel, seed, private and public investment rounds. If the project gets angel, it means that it should leverage this money. Usually this is not a big amount of money, because this money come from just individual investors who are interested in this industry. These are not like really big funds, so they usually invest like 50k, 100k into the project. And at a angel round, the project should have a burning desire coming from its founders and some kind of team behind the project, and that's it. But after they receive angel investing round, but after they get money from angels, they need to create a basic MVP, which is minimum viable product. And this is just like a poor representation how this project will work. That includes main functionality in it. The next investment round is seed round. So at this point, the project already has MVP. They can show some basic functionality, how their product functions, and they usually receive money at this stage from some VCs, venture capitalists, people who represent funds. And they are not looking only for more money, but also they look for the network that these VCs have, the marketing that they can provide. So it's also about non-monetary value that these investors can provide that the projects are looking for. Now, the next one is private round. And this usually is like one of the biggest investment rounds that the project can do. And at this stage, they should have already done alpha testing, meaning that it's not only MVP that they have, but they have like a really good, already well-functioning product that real users can begin to use. And they usually receive money from like not small VCs, but really big, really reputable VCs. Now, the last investment round that any project does is public one. And there are 3 types of public rounds that it can do. It can be ICO, IEO, or IDO. If you don't know what it is and what are the differences between the 3 of these, then feel free to check out that video. There I've broken down the differences between each of them. It's going to be really helpful. So watch it first and then come back to here. So the goal of public round is not really to get new investments, because at this point the project already is supposed to have a pretty decent product and some traction of new users coming in every single month, every single day, and thus generating some revenue. So it's more about generating hype. For example, when StepN did its IDO and the price went up just in a few days by 100 times. So many people began to talk about it, news, different influencers. There was just so much hype around the project that the price of the token appreciated, more users got to know this project, and it just accelerated its growth immensely. Now, another facet of token distribution is team, because we are living in capitalism and no one is doing stuff for just benefit for the society. I mean, there are some projects like that, but most of the time there is some profit incentive, and also employees that work for the project, they need to get paid. So usually 5 to 7%. Again, this percentage, it's not about possibilities of what a project can have, it's about what it should have. So I mean, if a project allocates 40% of all of the tokens for the team, this might be a trigger for you, because it probably means that they're more interested in making profit rather than creating something significant. So 5 to 7% is like a golden standard, and most of the real successful projects have this percentage of tokens allocated for the team. Now, usually the biggest percentage of tokens, they go to ecosystem. So in the case of StepN, these are the tokens that they give to users for working. So essentially, it can be both rewards and just the whole tokens that are part of the ecosystem. If you play game, these tokens are used for paying the users. So the more you have, it means that the more money users can make and the project is just going to be more successful. Then 15 to 20% goes to staking. We have talked about staking before. Another thing is liquidity. So for example, when the project launches on a decentralized exchange, it needs to have some liquidity because otherwise people just won't be able to buy it. So 10 up to 15%, not more than that. Then also sometimes projects allocate part of their tokens to marketing, usually it's 5-10%. Some of them might have treasury. I mean, it doesn't happen that often, but usually these are just the tokens for unforeseen issues, purposes that might happen, where the project might have like a burning desire to do a really big marketing campaign. Then, but again, this doesn't appear that often. Then also there is product development. I mean, if like I have seen this only a couple of times, and when the project does have product development, this should be a trigger for you, because the argument of the project is that they want to have some tokens that they can use for investing in the product. But I mean, guys, you have done like 4 rounds of already investing so much money for your project. I don't think that any more investments are really required. So if the project has product development as a part of their tokenomics, not a good sign. And the last one is advisors. Most of the project, they not only want investors, but they also want people who already have a lot of experience in launching similar projects in crypto space, so that they can provide some piece of advice. They can just provide their expertise in return for some of the tokens. And if advisors are really famous in crypto industry, they will be supporting the project on their social media profiles, and by doing so, help the project to succeed. What you want is for the projects to have these parts that are about fundraising to be as low as possible. If the project is successful, obviously the investors will want to sell out their tokens to get the profits. So the less tokens you have allocated for fundraising in the project that you're considering, the better it is. Then for the team, again, it shouldn't be more than 10, maximum 15%, not more than that. And you want to have as many tokens as possible for the ecosystem, staking, liquidity, and marketing. In the case of Stepan, they have 16.3% for private sale. They have 7% for Binance Launchpad sale, or in other words, this is public round when everyone can participate, or IDO. They have 14% for the team, which is quite a lot. They have 2.5% for advisors, and 30% is for ecosystem or treasury, and then 30% are for move and earn. So both of these pieces of the donut, they're meant for the ecosystem, which makes it 60% for the ecosystem, and this is really, really good. And if we look at the project that was a loser in our comparison, you can see here that they give 5% to advisors, which is quite a lot. Do almost 5% for seed round, which is normal. 1.7% for public, which is that's fine. Then 23% and also 19% for foundation. I believe this is all about ecosystem, so they have like 40% for ecosystem, and they did 18% for private, which is again not that good, because what will happen is that when IDO takes place and essentially the investors now can sell out the tokens, they will sell 15% out of this 18% immediately. Now the team has 15%, and marketing is 13%. Now also there are 3 more things to consider when it comes to token distribution. The first one is cliff, the next one is release a token generation event, and the last one is the vesting period. Cliff is just how much time you need for you to get your tokens unlocked after IDO, and the bigger it is, the better it is for the projects. So because it will mean that the tokens that investors got won't be sold out just a few hours after the token gets listed on an exchange. Then percentage of tokens that are released at token generation event is also really important, and our goal is to look for projects that have really low release at token generation event. Because think about that, if you invested in the project and you bought a token during IDO or private sale for like 1 cent, and then the token gets listed on Binance and the price is $1, I mean, for sure, you're just gonna sell as much tokens as you have. So the less tokens are available for you, the better it is for the project, because if the provision of tokens increases rapidly, the price will dump. And the last thing is vesting period. and it describes in how much time the rest of the tokens will be released. So let's make an example. So for example, you participated in an IDO and the IDO price for the project was 1 cent. Then let's say a few weeks later, the project was listed on Binance, and now everyone can buy and sell these tokens, not just those guys who participated in all fundraising rounds that took place before, but just everyone. And when this happens, usually the price of the token goes up. And so let's say that now the price is $1. So you bought it for 1 cent and you bought, let's say, 1,000 tokens, and the price now is $1. So obviously you will want to sell as much as you want so that you can make really huge profits. And the goal of the project is to prevent you from doing that. So if the project releases 10% at the token generation event, it will mean that you will be able to sell only 10% of your tokens, not just the whole thing that you got. And if there is a cliff for a month, it means that you can sell 10% of your tokens, and then you won't be getting any tokens for the next month. The last part is the vesting period, and if the vesting period in this case is a year, it means that you will get the rest of 90% of the tokens that you got over the period of the next 12 months. So again, the goal is to make cliff as big as possible, to make tokens that are released at TGE as low as possible, and to make the vesting period as long as possible. And with Crypto, you can see that they've released 35% of all of the tokens for IDO at token generation event. And then they gave out like the rest, 65% of the tokens in the next 2 months, which means that investors probably would just sell all of them out and just forget about this project. And this would really dump the price down. And in the case of Oterin, which is the project that I mentioned before, which was really successful, you can see that during IDO, they released only 10% at the token generation event, not 35%. And then the rest of the tokens are distributed not over 2 months, but over 10 months. And this is for IDO. For private sale, it's even more strict, because why is it the case? Because for private sale, usually the price is lower, and therefore the investors have more incentive to sell out the tokens after IDO. So you can see here that they release only 6% of the tokens at token generation event, and the next over 12 months. And then for the team, they have a 3-year lock, so it's a 3-year cliff, and only in 3 years, after 3 years, the team will begin to get some tokens, and they will get these tokens during 2 years. So overall, in 5 years, the team will get the tokens. And in the case of the BET project, you can see here that there is just 6 months that the tokens for the team are locked only for half a year, and then the rest is unlocked during 18 months, which is 1.5 years. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it was helpful. And so if you like this video, then smash the like button. I will really appreciate it. Also check out the table, the link to the spreadsheet that I've created for you in the description, and follow this channel and check out other educational videos about IDOs, ICOs, and IEOs. And also do follow my Telegram announcement channel. There I post information about new upcoming projects that I believe will be successful and that I've done really deep research about, so that you can save more time and focus only on those projects that are already filtered out for you. And also there I post a lot of educational stuff about IDOs, IEOs, and ICOs. So thank you so much again, subscribe to the channel, and wish you all Bitcoin to be over 100K. And again, everything that was said was not a financial advice, so always do your own research. Yeah, that's the final words. Thanks so much. See you in the next videos. Bye.